Hello, my name is Megan Kieran, and welcome to my podcast. I am an intuitive coach, and today I want to talk all about what the heck a spiritual awakening even is. If you found my page, then you probably have some concept of spirituality, that there's something else out there. But I want to dive deeper on how people actually end up on their journey to dive deeper. So let's just start there. Literally everything in our universe is energy. And we are all playing within this energetic field around us that happens to be manifested in physical form. So obviously we're in a human body. Everything around you right now in the room you're in, the car you're in, wherever you are outside, you can see is physical, right? Like you can see the trees, you can touch the tree, you can sit in your car and touch the car. You can sit on your couch and touch the couch. But beyond that, there are tiny, tiny little particles moving, and it is all energy. And we're in this sort of energetic game, right? We're trying to live a certain life within the bounds that we have been told to be. We are usually doing things based on the assumption that we should be doing them, just because that's kind of how we've all been raised in this culture and society. We've literally been taught to do things, to work hard, to go to school, go to college, at least a lot of people, right? And I think everyone at some point that isn't on the path that they're meant for starts to feel a breaking point. And this is where I think the inner journey, the spiritual journey, really begins. We all hit this breaking point at some point where everything that we have been programmed to do, everything that we've kind of just been on autopilot doing, begins to feel like opposite ends of a magnet, right? Like it just doesn't fit anymore. It feels so bad. I know specifically, like when I finally was ready to leave corporate America, the job that I was super good at and that I had worked so hard to get to felt like almost torture. It just did not feel right. And I think that is when we all hit that breaking point. That is really when we start questioning everything in our reality in some way, shape, or form. Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is this really how I want to spend my day? Is this really how I want to live my life? And once we come to that breaking point, going through a spiritual awakening is really deciding to look within and follow that line of questioning. Like, what am I really here for? And for me, I can back it up a little bit. I am a daughter of immigrant parents from India. So I was always exposed to Hinduism, and my mom had a meditation room growing up. So I was always exposed to spirituality. I went down the route of going to college, getting my degree in finance from a business school, moving to New York City, and throughout this journey, I had some sort of like inkling in the back of my head that there was something else out there, right? Just because I was exposed to a certain religion that was very spiritual and open, and certain things just made sense to me because, like, we can't be the only ones out there in the universe, right? And as I began this journey, I didn't really go full force. So throughout my time of going to college and working in corporate America, I had a friend that was a Reiki practitioner, but she could actually certify me in Reiki. So she knew, based on the fact that I was spiritual, that this is something that would be beneficial for me. So I got certified in Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, which allowed me to do Reiki from a distance. And if you don't know what Reiki is, it's energy healing. It's a form of energy healing that is all about moving energy through the chakras, and it is something that I didn't really use at the time, but became a big part of my journey in the future. So it ended up that I was getting bits and pieces of the tools that I needed for the future version of myself that I was going to become, and for that person that really was my higher self. And a huge part of a spiritual awakening journey is connecting with your higher self. Your higher self is that version of you that is always with you, but that isn't necessarily always running the show, right? Like, who's really running the show? Our subconscious, where like 80 to 90% of our thoughts are. That's really what is running the show. And going through this journey really helped us reprogram that part of us to be able to connect to our higher self, to be able to go down that path, so that once we start questioning things like, hey, this doesn't feel good anymore. Like, am I supposed to be in this job, in this relationship, in this location? We're able to look within and figure out where we're meant to go, and that is by connecting with our higher self. So for me, like, it took a while until I actually left corporate America and was just like, hey, maybe I'm here for something else. I'm not saying that's for everyone. Some people's life purpose is within that career, right? Just for me, it didn't feel right anymore. So it's interesting what that breaking point is for people and what actually happens. So my spiritual awakening, or at least my big one, right? We're always kind of awakening to things. My big one was in 2020. So if there's anyone out there that is in the 2020 gang, I know I'm not the only one. I know that there is so much that people went through that year, right? And ironically, mine happened like in the beginning of 2020. So in January, before we had this whole shutdown of the world. We had a global pandemic that year, and there was a lot of shakeup. There was a lot of shutdown. I felt the same thing that was happening on the outside was happening on the inside for me. I began to question my reality. There was no one trigger that did this, but I think everything leading up to it, me just being exposed to spirituality, questioning things, I was at a breaking point in my life where I just began to go down this journey. Like, I even said to my was he my boyfriend? No, my fiance. Now he's my husband. I said to my fiance at the time, like, things are going to change for me. Like, I can feel my whole mindset shifting. My reality is going to change. Just want to make sure you're in it for the long haul, because I think some weird stuff's going to happen to who I am as a person. And him being my life partner and soulmate was like totally cool with it. And then I just went down this whole crazy journey of awakening. And I don't want to get into every single detail because that could take many, many episodes. But essentially, the journey led me to the path I'm on today, 5 years later, which is really embodying a higher version of myself. Me really being able to connect to my higher self. And that's not to say this whole journey was rainbows and butterflies. I would say that it was almost the exact opposite for most of the time because I had to really look inwards. I was forced to look at myself in the mirror in a way that I never had before. And this is where the energy healing really came into play. I had that in my back pocket from like, I guess 8 years ago, right? And I really was able to utilize that as a tool to help clear the energies within me. And I used Reiki to really heal myself. I was able to use Reiki and meditation and breath work to bring in energy into my body and illuminate the parts of myself that had been in the shadows. And if this doesn't make any sense to you, that's okay. Stick with me. I want to let you know that this is a very convoluted journey sometimes. It's not very straightforward. So I want to share my experiences and my path to simplify it for you, to make it easier for you if you're beginning your journey, if you're on your journey, or if you're just curious about what a spiritual awakening is. But as I did energy healing, I was tapping into different chakras. So chakras are energy centers that run along your spine. There are many of them, but there are 7 major ones: your crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and root. So when I do Reiki, I focus on all those chakras, and different energy centers hold different energies, right? So when we go through life and we don't want to feel something, I think many of us have naturally put up this like defense mechanism where we don't fully feel something that doesn't feel good. So if you're going through something traumatic and you want to protect yourself, you don't let yourself feel it. Right? So energy cannot be created or destroyed, so it just stays within you if you're not releasing it, if you're not really feeling it in the moment. So this energy healing really helps release those stuck energies. And that doesn't mean that I had to think of every single trauma or bad situation I went through. I just had the intention to cleanse and clear certain areas of my body, to cleanse and clear that energy that no longer serves me. And through many sessions, I was able to start shifting and changing. And this was in conjunction with my mindset, because then I started shifting and changing my mind, which had been running the show, right? And so once I was able to take control of the energies within me, I was able to have that connection between my mind, my body, and my spirit to be able to begin to manifest in a way I never had before. And this all started when my spiritual awakening happened in 2020. And this whole journey took probably 5 years up until now. But throughout this journey, I became a master manifester. And I say this only because I see the evidence of it. So I'm only sharing this because I have experienced it. And so I know it's true and I know it can happen. So what I ended up manifesting was the reality I'm in today. When I started my awakening, I was living in an apartment, working a corporate job, and feeling really hazy, lost, disconnected from who I really was. I felt like a lot of the time I was just going through the motions. And what I ended up manifesting was a life where I have a beautiful home, 2 children, and my days are so completely different from how they used to be. And I think in a broad sense, these manifestations have really created the life that I'm living today. And it's all due to this awakening journey I had. Because it was all about me connecting with my higher self. It was all about me finally saying, you know what? F the matrix, F the systems. I'm going to follow me. I'm going to question things, and I'm going to actually go down this crazy path that isn't straightforward. I'm going to go down the path that is least explored. And so many of us are doing that right now. You are here because you're doing it. And I am so proud of you for everything that you've been through in life, whatever brought you here today. Because this has not been easy. Let me tell you. Being a human is not easy. But we are getting to a place in our lives right now, especially if you're listening to this, that it's time. It's really time for us to change the narrative. To not necessarily easy, but to what feels right. To what really just aligns with our higher self, which is going to feel less like work and more like living. So again, I'm Megan Kieran. I hope this helped, and I'll see you next time.